Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw. Played 11 seasons for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. Come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey and sometimes our personal lives, certainly cooking now and then. And we're going to start talking about football and being a sports fan in Michigan, Tom. I'm going to sort of relate it to hockey a little bit, but if you're a resident of the Michigan state of Michigan and you're a sports fan, the last week has really been a good week for you. You watched your Red Wings win two big games. They're 11-5-5. They're I forget now whether they're second or third in the Atlantic Division. It's nip and tuck either way. Eastern Michigan, my alma mater, won a big game, beat Central Michigan. They won the Michigan MAC trophy, meaning for all the Michigan schools are in the MAC. They're going to go to a bowl game. People are talking about it's going to be one downtown. So there people excited about that. And then, USA tied England in soccer, which feels like a win. People are talking about that. And then, of course, the Lions played on Thanksgiving. Just a really entertaining game. And, really had a chance to win it. It was, they played well, probably one of the better games they've played all season, but they ended up losing. But I think people were pretty satisfied with that effort. And then on Saturday, the granddaddy of them all,
there you
Michigan beats Ohio State. First time in 22 years that they've won a game down in Columbus.
Oh, really? Wow,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's been a while. And first time to win back-to-back in that long as well. People, were just excited in Michigan on Saturday after that happened. Of course, and all this was part of the Thanksgiving holiday. And it struck me too about how, our obsession with sports probably isn't all that healthy. And I'll just give an example. I didn't do a darn thing to help win that game.
But it's we though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And my cousin was telling me that he kept getting congratulatory texts all day because his Michigan team had won.
Oh, yeah.
And we see that all the time in hockey too.
Sure.
I don't know. I say it's unhealthy, but I have no idea. Maybe it's healthy. Maybe we need that. This sports is supposed to be an opiate of the masses. Like drinking or I guess smoking dope, if that's what you're into, and sports, whatever, takes your mind off of, that 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 hour a week job you have. But it just struck me and it's not the first time I've thought about it, but it just struck me how excited we all were as if something good had happened in our lives.
Yeah, I agree though. Yeah, it's true.
And
I've said this before too. I've come to realize that I didn't realize as much while I was playing, but now being out of the game, doing a lot of events and being around Ranger fans more often, it's the Ranger fans it's everything to them. They're diehard fans. And
yeah. Well, then there's the flip side of that. I mean, Ryan Day, the coach of Ohio State, he took quite an amount of abuse for losing that game. I think his career record is 45-6 as Ohio State's coach, but they're all over him.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, because the Ohio State-Michigan game is it. Just to put this put in perspective for those who don't know how big this game is in the two states, Jim Harbaugh, a former Michigan player, a Bo Schembechler disciple, he spends part of his practice from the first day of training camp on the Ohio State game, even though that's the last game of the season. Now, it may only be 15 minutes, but every practice they do something to prepare for Ohio State.
Really? I didn't know that. Wow,
yeah. So that's how big, the game is. But anyway, I was just struck by that. Everybody in Michigan had a good Saturday, and even people who aren't huge sports fans, I've seen on my Facebook people who you wouldn't think would care all that much, just basically ringing the cowbell over that big win by their by their Michigan Wolverines.
Right.
So
And here in New York, if you're a Jets fan, there's Mike White, the quarterback for the Jets.
Yeah.
He could run for mayor right now.
yeah.
So popular, huh?
Well, I mean, he replaces a guy that didn't do it
Yeah.
the Tom Laidlaw way.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. Now the grandkids in the background there, are they football
yeah,
fans?
that's my grandkids. Yeah.
Are they football fans or where are they at?
No, I think they're scrapping now.
Oh, they're going at it? Oh,
Yeah. So they're hopefully my 4-year-old will take charge of the situation and stop all the shenanigans. So
yeah. Interesting. Just a little side note. I'm not much of a gambler. You don't gamble, do you? You're not a gambler.
no, I'm not.
But it was interesting going into the Bears game yesterday. I can't remember. Their starting quarterback was hurt. And then there was a debate who was going to start the game for him. And the guy that ultimately started was reported with an injury, and they said he wasn't going to start. And I guess it really affected the line on the game as far as gambling goes. And I didn't really think of it that way, but that is a big thing now. So that's why these teams have to be so accurate in their reporting, because then ultimately the quarterback they thought that wasn't going to play ultimately played. So,
Yeah. The funny thing about injuries is the betting establishment, they could care less who's injured, who's not. But their bettors, the people that lay the bets, they care.
Okay.
They care, and so that's why you'll get some pressure, I think, from the betting establishment saying, get all that. But odds and all that, it's mathematics. Like MGM and all the big casinos that do betting. Who do you think they hire? They're hiring math majors. They're hiring guys with PhDs. They're not hiring guys that, hang out at the football field watching all the, it's all math. So, but the people who do the betting, they care about all that.
So when they were talking this morning then about how that affected the line with the quarterback change, is that what the gambling places, is that what they established the line?
Yeah, but they established the line based on how much bets are being laid down.
Oh, okay.
That's what people don't understand. The first odds that are laid are based somewhat on how the team is playing and what's going on. But then as the betting is being done, they're going to adjust the odds to make sure they get their take.
Gotcha.
And they're not putting themselves at risk.
Right.
So
that is interesting how much money is gamblers bet. But those casinos are always making billions of dollars. So it's
because they can't lose because they adjust the line so that they're in the middle there.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. That the math guys are studying all this. So in other words, if you and I are the two guys that are going to bet on a game, and we go in first, and you bet $50 on the Rangers, and I bet $10 on the Red Wings, that's going to affect the line because they want to make sure that their risk, they're not at risk. So, they try to make it a little more attractive for the Red Wing bettors to get that closer to even. So,
Speaking of Red Wings there, what's the coach saying now? I mean this in a good way. I thought he was right earlier in the year when he said, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves with the record. But now they continue to play well. Is he still?
Well, he's still saying they're punching above their weight class. He said if you look at their analytics, they've had their goaltender Billy Uso win a couple of games, and they won a couple of games they probably shouldn't have won. Right. So he just said, we're getting there. But, I think he's, playing that little the game you played when you were 12 years old, when you pretend, we're not that good, and, all that kind of thing. Because I just looked up this morning, like last year, the Red Wings were dead last, like well beyond where the other people were in dangerous scoring chances against. The only playoff team that was down in their vicinity was, and we've talked about this a lot, the New York Rangers.
Oh, yes.
Every other playoff team, they just don't give up high dangerous scoring chances.
Yeah.
So, and now I think this year, it's biting a little bit, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, but this year, the Red Wings are fourth.
Oh.
But you know who's third?
No.
Giving up high danger scoring chances? It's the cab coach himself, Dave Haxtell. Yeah. Third, they've given up only two teams have given up fewer chances. Who would be the team that you would guess who's given up the fewest number of scoring chances? High danger scoring chances.
Fewest number of high danger.
Culture, think culture. One of your favorite organizations.
Not Vegas.
No.
Buffalo.
No.
Oh.
Really, no. I mean, sincerely.
Oh, seriously. Oh, Boston. Then Boston.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, for sure. They're up there as well.
Yeah.
Calgary's up there. The teams you would expect, but would you expect Seattle? I mean,
No.
we're in year 2.
Again, that goes to show the power of this show. He was obviously watching the show, realized he needed to learn more about the game of hockey, and he has done that now. So he's a better coach. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the guys that I know are from Philadelphia saying Hackstall is coaching exactly the same way he coached in Philadelphia.
Isn't that true? They're all doing that. The coaches, by the time they get to the NHL, they're not going to change the way they coach.
No.
They coach a certain way. Yeah.
No, that's right. But you gotta have the players.
Yeah, totally.
You gotta have guys that will buy in, and sometimes you just need guys who are committed. I mean, isn't defense an attitude, Tom?
Yes, it is 100%. Penalty killing is an attitude. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, they got the right guys, and what a difference a year makes. So last year, and I think we may have been guilty on this, although I can't really remember if this is true or not. But it felt like Ron Francis didn't hit it out of the park.
Exactly.
Last year. And I do remember giving him a little bit of a pass because even though the rules of expansion didn't change at all, they did. GMs got smarter.
Yeah, totally.
They didn't do the things that they did the first time around with Vegas. They didn't give them the extra players. They just said, go ahead and take that one guy, but I'm not giving you 3 players.
Absolutely.
I'm not giving you my best prospect. I'm not giving you, 3 draft picks to not take that guy. Just take that guy. Take that guy.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking Ron, I didn't like all of his choices. I thought there would be 2 guys available, and he'd take a guy that I've never heard of in lieu of the guy that I thought could be helpful. But who's right now?
No, I know they should look good. And he deserves a lot of credit for what's happened in Carolina too. Our good friend Don Woodell certainly deserves a lot of credit as well. But Ron Francis did a lot of the building of that team. So yeah, he's good.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think you and Don said coming in that the cupboard was rich. Yep. But I think by now Don Waddell has put a stamp on that.
Oh yeah, no question about that. You're correct there. Yep.
Now going back to Seattle, they're the 6th best team in the NHL right now.
Wow,
13-5-5.
Right.
Not only that, but I think they're 6th or 8th in scoring.
Wow.
I have to look that up again. I think they're averaging 3.5 goals per game. They're giving up 2.7.
Yep. Plus 15 on the goals against, goals for. Look at the New Jersey Devils, 2nd overall in the league right now. Wow. Yeah. So it's good to see they finally lost to Toronto and that 13-game winning streak, but then they've come back and win 2 more right after that as well. So, and even the game they lost, it was just a 2-1 game. So
yeah, well, and speaking of them, people listening to our show, and just to prove we don't know anything, we don't know what we're talking about. $7 million Toronto defense.
Yeah.
How many in the row have they won?
Yeah.
So
that goes to show, right, that you can, if the forwards will be responsible and play good defensive hockey, and that's just not. And part of the thing with the Toronto so good, they are heavy on the forwards. But they play in the other team's end a lot, right? So
that's not where I thought you would go with that, Tom. I thought you would go to saying that the best thing that ever happened to them was, losing those defensemen because, next man up and all that nonsense.
Right.
So, I mean, I laugh about it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
You start telling yourself, well, this is my chance.
Yeah.
I'm going to show them what I can really do.
And do the forwards play a little bit more haphazardly? Okay, we've got Muzzin back there. He's a great defensive player. Now Muzzin's not there anymore. The forwards say, geez, we need to play smarter here. I think that's part of it too. But you're right. Now the guy gets a chance to play. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Toronto's case, they lose Muzzin. Brody's out for another week or so, maybe. But then Morgan Riley, long term, 4 to 6.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Weeks now, not months, but 4 to 6 weeks. Now everybody's saying, everybody's got to get on the oars here. We got to really, really get it done. And there's probably a lot of talking in the dressing room,
Yep.
and everybody.
Yeah, and the coaches, and be fair to the coach too, you can't. What are you going to do to those top end players that are making $10 million, right? Marner and Matthews and Tavares. I mean, Tavares is a responsible player. I'm not saying the other ones are not responsible players, but to push these guys along, ice time is what you can do to use it, and you're not going to sit Marner, Matthews, right? It's so.
No, well, I mean, you wouldn't do that anyway. Marner's got the
Right.
longest point streak in the NHL right now. So
Oh, does he really? I didn't know.
yeah,
I thought he was
16
kinda-
games or
Oh,
something.
wow. Okay.
I mean, I've kind of lost track of where it's at, but it's easy to look it up.
Yeah.
I believe it's still ongoing though. So
Right.
they were talking about moving him back to defense, a la
Yeah.
Sergei
remember that.
Fedorov too.
Yeah, I
So,
remember that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
That's right. I forgot Fedorov did that. Yeah, that was pretty cool. How many other players have done that? Ron Greshner used to play forward in defense. Not too many guys have done that, though, right?
yeah, there's a few. I mean, there's been some non-superstar guys. Mark Pizik,
Oh,
Brent Burns, of course.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And a lot of that was, I think, coaches thinking he wasn't good defensively.
Yeah.
And they loved his beastliness and they loved his offensive might.
Did Bufflin? He did that too, didn't he? He played both forward
Who
and
did?
defense. Dustin Bufflin.
Yes, he did. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Dustin Bufflin's a good example of that.
That's right. Brendan Smith now playing in Detroit. He's done that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that was more though. They had so many injuries, and he wasn't playing well defensively. In that case,
yeah. The Red Wings used him a couple of games, but I would say that was every time that happened, it was happenstance more than it was.
Yeah.
Kind of a
Yeah, I remember with the Rangers, they had so many injuries. It's like, okay, well, let's put him there. He's up with the team, so instead of calling a forward up, let's play him. So.
Yeah, Jordan Osterley, Phil Housley.
Housley did that.
Yeah, and what was interesting about Housley was usually you play either wing or defense. He was a center or defense.
I didn't know that. I forgot about that. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, and then the most famous one was Red Kelly.
Oh, yes.
Red Kelly played. And speaking of guys who did do that, the greatest player to ever play the game, I put quotes around that because everyone knows I'm from Detroit.
Right.
The great Gordie Howe, who, when he needed a rest, would go back. And
sorry.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mentioned to you a preseason game we had. We're playing against the Flyers. And, Paul Holmgren was out there, and Barry Beck was on the ice. And Ted Sater, the famous Ted Sater, wanted me to go out there and play forward against Paul Holmgren. And we're at the faceoff circle, so like Beck, myself, and Holmgren are all like within about 5 feet of each other. And Barry Beck's going, "What the f are you doing out here?" And even Holmgren started laughing. It was a preseason game. It was hilarious. Barry Beck was a funny guy. He had some good one-liners, but he was like, "What the heck are you doing out here?"
Yeah. Did you know where to stand and stuff? I mean,
well, it's funny. I was kind of that's interesting you say that because I was kind of running around like, okay, what do I do here? What do I do?
Yeah. Well, there is. I mean, you got to know where to go, and if
it's
you never
true.
played it. Now, you never played forward even as a youngster, did you?
As a kid, my first couple of years I did. I was a terrible skater, so they had me go stand in front of the net, and that was And once I started to skate, they put me back on defense.
Wow. And you go in front of the net, eh? Did you score any goals?
I did score a few. My first goal in the NHL that I actually shot in the other team's net was I was on the front of the net in the power play when Freddie Shero was coaching.
Wow.
And, I was assisted by Barry Beck and Phil Esposito. I think it was Phil passed it to Barry. Barry shot. I got the rebound and scored. And then
did you get the puck?
Yes, I've got the puck. My parents made a plaque out of it the whole bit. And then poor Freddie Shero got fired for making those decisions. So.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. How many pucks did you save in your career?
Just the one. Yeah.
That's it, eh?
Yeah. Most guys are like, a lot of guys are like that. They just don't think ahead and say, well, geez, I should have saved this or should have saved that, like sticks or skates or gloves. I got some old stuff, but I probably could have saved a lot more. My parents did a good job of saving a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, I think today it's so organized, your equipment guy, immediately they tape up whatever, it's the 16th game after your 21st birthday. I mean, they got it all covered, you know. So.
Like even Wayne Gretzky, I think of him, how thoughtful he was, like many times. But in his last game at Madison Square Garden, he played with a different stick in every shift, so he could sign it and give one to each of his teammates. To think of that way, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, Wayne thought of all the angles.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but you did. I know you did save all your jerseys, though, right?
Yes, I have both my jerseys, Rangers and Kings. Yep.
Just one.
Just one of each, yeah. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a couple, but not necessarily the ones I wore when I played. I've got other ones since then, they're like the newer jerseys. So
You
Yeah.
got from playing in the alumni games and those
Yeah,
kind of things.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And then my
And-
sons, I've got my Northern Michigan jersey. I think my sons got that for me. On my 50th birthday, I think they got that done. So
Oh, they found it. Yeah,
yeah. It's funny how small it is. Oh, nice.
yeah. What about your? You played in the American League too, didn't you?
When I at the end of my senior year, once we finished in the finals, I went and
Right.
signed my contract with the Rangers, played in the playoffs. I didn't think to get that jersey either. My head was just
Oh.
I know my head was just spinning. That was when I think I've told you the story, but remember I told you how all I was thinking about was taking my helmet off at practice. What a big deal that was.
Right. Yeah.
Lance Nethery shot the puck off my forehead in 10 minutes into practice. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you might be able to dig at least one
Yeah.
jersey up from that era.
Yeah.
If you just worked at it a little bit.
Yeah. Hold on here. There was a sighting. Saw me walking around Marquette a few weeks back. Yes, that's right. I was up in beautiful Marquette. That was a great trip for me. I put on a couple of presentations, one for the alternative high school in Marquette, and then one for the student athletes at Northern Michigan University. That was a great trip. The kids at the alternative high school were fantastic. They were just, is that a big thing in a lot of towns where they have alternative high schools? For
Oh, yeah.
kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
Most school districts have it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, at least they do in Michigan. I don't know elsewhere.
yeah. I just never heard of it before, but yeah. It was good. How you doing there, bud?
Good. I think I need a glass of water. I didn't bring one today.
Okay.
So anyway, just getting back to the NHL. The other thing I want to talk about is, did we talk about the 7 captains?
No,
Man,
is that in Seattle? They're doing the 7 captains.
no. I went 7. There's 7 captains in the NHL this season whose contracts expire, so they could go to free agency. Like that normally doesn't happen.
Really?
You don't have your captains playing out there.
Who we got? Dylan Larkin,
Yeah, excuse me, Dylan Larkin,
Patrice Bergeron.
Jonathan Taves, Okposo, Bergeron, 4.
Who else would be? How about who's captain of Carolina?
Jordan Stahl. Yep. 5.
Trying to think around the league who else it would be.
Riley.
Oh, Ryan O'Reilly. Okay.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
6.
Wow.
And then, I've forgotten one.
Oh, it's Kopitar.
No.
Trying to think. Vancouver. Who's in Vancouver? How about the Islanders? I'm trying to think who the captain is of the Islanders.
Yeah, no, it's not that. I'm trying to think. I know these.
What are people? I don't hear a lot of noise with Dylan Larkin not being signed yet.
Oh, we forgot. It's a big one. It's Bo Horvat. That's who we forgot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that. The one thing I can say about, I was at Steve Yzerman's first day of pro hockey. He started 18 years old,
right.
Training camp in Port Huron, Michigan. I was working for the Port Huron Times Herald. Went and covered his first practice. He was 150 some pounds, and the first time he took the ice, he was by far better than anybody else there. Not even remotely close.
Right.
So I've known him a long time, and I've known him as a player. I've known him as an executive, and he is one of the hardest reads.
Oh.
Like, he doesn't let anything leak out. He's not free with the information. So we don't really know what's going on with Dylan Larkin, but I am still surprised. Like, I thought that would be easy. I thought Tyler Bertuzzi, because there's tension. There's tension between Bertuzzi and Yzerman, and you could feel it. But with Larkin, hometown guy, well-loved by the community, well-loved by his teammates. So the only thing I can speculate, and this is pure speculation, is, he asked for what the market is saying that he's going to get. He's looked at Tage Thompson, and he's looked at Barzal, he's looked at Kyrou, and he's saying, I want X. I'm guessing X is $9 million or somewhere. And Yzerman's going, no. I just because other teams are paying that doesn't mean I have to.
Ooh, that's a risky game to play, though. I mean, I'd lose him as a free agent, right? If he at the end of the year he's a free agent, correct?
Yeah, he did that with Stamkos, though.
Yeah. Or you know what else it could be too. So if Larkin signs, then Bertuzzi's going to judge his career or his contract off what Larkin says. Now maybe he's not going to get what Larkin gets, but he's saying I'm going to get 80% or 90% or whatever it is of what Larkin gets. Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think most people think there is a real decent shot that Tyler Bertuzzi will be elsewhere next year.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah.
But he would trade him before he'd let him go as a free agent, though.
I think so. I think he'd trade him. Although, with the Red Wings suddenly playing well, I don't know. It's
Right. That is a risky one.
Yeah.
You let him go for, and there is the argument now. I don't know if it's totally true that you're basically buying cap space if you just let him go, right?
Yeah. No. And like one of the things, I think it was Nick Kyprios who said it first, that maybe Bo Horvat is more of an Yzerman player.
Yeah,
he's going to be free.
That's a good point. Yep.
So let him, Horvat's got 16 or 17 goals this year already.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, at the beginning, I would have said that there was a good chance that Bertuzzi would be traded and Larkin would be signed pretty easily. I thought he'd be signed by the start of the season, so I was really wrong.
But it doesn't seem to affect Larkin, though, right? Like, it's not like he's walking around pouting or anything like that. He's not that kind of kid, right?
He's talked about it only one time, and he said, look, I want to be a Red Wing. That's pretty clear. And, he grew up as a Red Wings fan. He's from Michigan, so – and he's got a bit of Pied Piper in him for the like Team USA. Like he's really highly respected.
Yeah, you told me that before. Yeah.
Yeah, they guys like him. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing: if he ended up going to free agency, if this was a Stamkos thing, but unlike Stamkos, he didn't re-sign.
Right.
I would put money on Columbus giving him a call. Because they don't have any centers. I think they would love to stick Larkin between Johnny Hockey and Line A. I think he and Werenski are very close friends.
Oh, that's right. They got in the fight last year too, wasn't that?
They did, but they're good friends. They're both from Michigan. They played at Michigan together. But I still don't believe it's going to come to that. I still think, they'd, I think you set back the rebuild if you give up Larkin, because now you got to go find another center. And, Kopp, what we're seeing from him, good hockey player, but not a real dynamic scorer, So, I mean, it's not like we didn't know that, but, he scored 20 goals last year, but I believe it was his first time he scored 20 goals.
Oh, I forgot all about this too. Sorry to interrupt there, Susan. Thank you very much for reminding me. Boris Salmi passed away. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because he was just in Toronto last week, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I know his health wasn't very good. He couldn't talk, but it didn't look like he was that bad. So, wow.
Yeah. Well, with all the modern advances, I mean, you look around now, and in our hockey community, we got Mark Curtin, who's had it a few years, and I know that everyone's different, but I know there's been some discussion in the Swedish media about they're behind in their acceptance of certain drugs that are being used in America that have been pretty effective at prolonging the lives of and people. And I know that his daughter at one point, Salmi's daughter, had come over to Canada to get some drugs and then was not allowed to bring them.
That's right. You told me that.
Yeah. So there was some issues there, but it's sad. I mean, Nick Lidstrom of the Red Wings put out a statement where he said, my good friend Borja Salmi went to sleep today, and he just said, he and Cronwell, Peter Forsberg signed off because he actually wore 21, that they would like Borja Salmi's 21 to never be worn again in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how big they think he
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So
Yeah, because he was. I know there was other Swedish players before him, but man, he was the first Swedish warrior. I think he didn't back down from anybody. I grew up in Toronto, outside Toronto, watched him all the time, and he was just. I
well,
mean, yeah,
I think it's fair to say he was the first Swedish star.
yes, I agree with that. Right? Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I mean, he was a top player.
Yeah,
You
no
know?
question. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree. I mean, Warrior is what he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And he had kind of fought his way. So, yeah, it was sad. I mean, it sort of caught me off guard.
Yeah,
A little
exactly. Me too. It didn't seem like I hate to say it, but it didn't seem like he was that close to passing on. But wow.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, where were we?
We're bouncing around a little bit. How about and then they traded Reeves. The Rangers traded Ryan Reeves too. I think that was more of for cap space. I think too. They had to
Yeah,
move him.
and I think when they got him, they made a statement.
Yeah.
And then they don't need to make that statement anymore. So.
Well, I was at the game in Nashville when Lindgren got ran over and got hurt. Actually, no, got to scrap and got beat up. And then they put Ryan Reeves on right away. So it kind of surprised me because they were using him in that role. Not all the time, but he was still being used in that role as the guy to go out there and set the tone. So it surprised me a little bit, but
How many minutes was he averaging? Do you know?
yeah, I don't know, but it wasn't that much. Yeah, most games
Yeah.
I bet you if you got 6 or 7 minutes, that was most. But again, it was a presence thing. But yeah, it rarely happens now that he has to do anything. Again, that game in Nashville, he had to, and you can see that Gallant put him on the ice right after the fight with Lindgren when he got hurt. So a little bit surprising, but I don't really think it changes the Rangers that much. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just getting back to the captains of that group that we've talked about. Some of it is age. Jonathan Taves,
Yep.
like he's not coming back to the Blackhawks, so it'll be interesting. He's actually having a good year.
Yeah.
He's recovered from whatever he was ailing, so he's going to go elsewhere. And I think he could be Winnipeg. He could, Detroit maybe if Larkins goes. So there could be.
Winnipeg's not doing bad, right? They're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's right. So speaking when we were talking about Seattle, we didn't talk about Martin Jones. Like Martin Jones has not had a goals against average below 3 or a save percentage above 900 since 2018.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
So he got signed in Seattle as a backup, and now nobody in the NHL has played more games than him this season.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah, so he is at 258 goals against average. I think the save percentage is still like 903, but it's above 900. Finally.
I love hearing those stories too, where guys struggle for a little bit and then they find a way to get it together. That's good.
Yeah. He's a big goalie, too. Like he's one of those guys that he's a big 6'4". Yeah. Like if you watch him, like I remember when the Sharks got to the final a few years ago, and you watched him in that, you're thinking, man, he takes up a big percentage of that net.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but he's played pretty well. But those advanced statistics. I was just looking. I looked up, goals better than average. Last year Shesterkin just ran away with that. Like the average goalie, like how many goals did Shesterkin save? And he was just light years ahead of everyone else. Well, I looked up Martin Jones today. He's actually below average in terms of the goals he saved, which I was kind of struck by because he's had like 9 or 10 quality starts. Whatever the definition is of quality starts. I know what it is in baseball more than I do in hockey. So,
that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
So how did the Thanksgiving dinner go for you?
It was good. It was, it was the second of my double dip, as you know. It was quiet. My son-in-law and my daughter own a ski place up in northern Michigan, so we went up there. And his whole family, they all, 2 brothers and his parents all have hamlets. So they have like a compound. I mean, they're all within a 2-minute walk of each other.
Very cool.
But anyway, none of them are big enough to house everyone. So we had conclaves of dinners, like,
Oh, cool.
but my son-in-law's dad made Bloody Marys, and it was fun. We had a good time, and everybody enjoyed it. I didn't go, but there was skiing, of course. That's opening day of the season. Oh, here's an interesting fact. Or did I talk about this about
What's
the
that?
deer?
No, we did talk about that too. Yeah, because there's not enough people hunting them anymore.
Yeah, not enough
Right.
hunting them. Yeah,
Right.
that's right. So
My family was over, and my new grandson, the little golden retriever Maverick, just loves his grandfather. Oh, it makes my son mad because the dog gets so excited when he sees me all the time. He pees on the ground, and he just won't leave me alone. He just follows me around all over the place. So it makes my son's got to raise him. He's the one that's getting up with him at 5 o'clock in the morning and everything. So
yeah,
it's tough. I've always been used to, and we talked about this. I know my son and his wife are doing the right thing. They don't feed him any adult food at all. It's all
right. Yeah, we
dog
didn't either. My pit bull lived to be 17.
Yeah, I know. It is the right thing to do. It's just I'm so used to feeding, like, especially at Thanksgiving, if we're in the kitchen or whatever, and scraps are flying all over the place. But he couldn't have any. So, but he's never had them, so he doesn't know what he's missing. So,
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, well, it's time for us to go, but we'll be back later this week to talk more things hockey. We're really getting the heart of it. Like, we're past the quarter pole now.
oh, yeah,
But I think all the teams have 20 games in, and all of a sudden where you're sitting actually is meaneful.
Yep. It's a fun time of the year too, sort of sports too, right? Football's going on, hockey's going on.
Yeah, a lot of
Baseball
meaningful games going on. So if you want to read me, I'm at DetroitHockeyNow.com.
All right, everybody. It's good to see you again. We'll see you on Wednesday.